What if everything you thought you knew about our origins was a carefully crafted deception? In the sands of time, a tale lies buried, one that could unravel the very fabric of our understanding of humanity. Join us as we embark on an eye-opening journey to uncover the truth behind the myth, revealing secrets that could change everything. Brace yourself. This isn't just history, it's a revelation that could shake the foundations of belief itself. In the scorching heat of the Iraqi desert, Dr. Sarah Thompson wiped sweat from her brow as she carefully brushed away centuries of dust from what appeared to be an ordinary clay tablet. But this was no ordinary find. As the ancient Sumerian symbols emerged beneath her brush, a chill ran down her spine despite the oppressive heat of the sun above. The tablet spoke of beings who came from the stars, the Annunaki, who supposedly created humans as a slave race to mine gold. For most archaeologists, such tales were mere mythology, fabrications of a primitive society attempting to explain the inexplicable. Yet something about these inscriptions felt different. They were too precise, too detailed, too vivid to be dismissed as mere ancient imagination. As Sarah began translating the text, her initial excitement quickly turned to a creeping unease. The tablet didn't just tell stories. It was a complex narrative filled with star maps, genetic information, and technological concepts that shouldn't have existed in ancient Mesopotamia. How could a civilization that relied on simple tools and rudimentary agricultural techniques possibly possess such advanced knowledge? The implications were staggering. When she shared her preliminary findings with her university colleague, Dr. James Reynolds, his expression turned grave. "Sarah, be careful with this," he warned, lowering his voice so that only she could hear. "People have disappeared for less. You know that." What he didn't tell her was that 3 other archaeologists had uncovered similar tablets in the past decade, all of them now missing without a trace. The deeper Sarah delved into the translations, the more disturbing the implications became. The Anunnaki weren't just mythological figures. They had manipulated human DNA, creating a hybrid species, us, designed specifically for servitude. If true, everything humanity believed about its divine creation, its special place in the universe, was nothing but a carefully constructed lie. The thought sent a shiver down her spine, and someone was watching her work very closely, lurking in the shadows of academia and industry. Strange men in suits began appearing at her dig site, their presence heavy with menace. Her emails were mysteriously deleted, vanishing into the ether before she could even read them. Her funding requests were suddenly under review, leaving her without the resources necessary to continue her research. 3 months into her research, Sarah's world turned upside down when she received a package containing photographs of her family alongside ancient Sumerian death symbols. The message was clear: stop digging or face consequences. Fear gripped her heart like a vice, and that night, as she sat alone in her tent, surrounded by translations, artifacts, and the weight of her growing anxiety, Sarah faced the most difficult decision of her career. She could walk away, preserve her reputation and safety, or she could pursue a truth that might upend human history and risk everything she loved. With trembling hands, she reached for her satellite phone and called the one person she knew might help: Dr. Elena Vasquez, a brilliant geneticist whose controversial theories about human origins had ended her academic career years ago. "Elena," Sarah whispered into the phone, her voice barely above a murmur. "I found evidence. You were right all along." The silence on the other end lasted only a moment before Elena responded, her voice steady but urgent. "Don't tell me anything more. They're listening. Meet me in Geneva. Bring only what you can carry." As Sarah packed the tablet carefully into her bag that night, she knew her life would never be the same. She was no longer just an archaeologist. She had become the keeper of humanity's most dangerous secret. The weight of the tablet felt heavy in her hands, a physical embodiment of the truth she was now tasked with protecting. As she zipped up her bag, a sense of foreboding washed over her. Would she be able to unravel the mysteries of the Anunnaki? Or would she become another casualty in the quest for knowledge? What Sarah couldn't possibly know was that the tablet she carried was merely one piece of a much larger puzzle, and powerful forces had been searching for it for thousands of years, willing to eliminate anyone who stood in their way. As she lay awake that night, listening to the sounds of the desert, her mind raced with questions. Who were the Anunnaki really? And what did their story mean for the future of humanity? With each passing moment, the stakes grew higher, and the path ahead became more treacherous. The cool air of Geneva was a stark contrast to the oppressive heat of the Iraqi desert. As Sarah stepped off the train, she felt an invigorating rush of adrenaline mixed with anxiety. She clutched her bag tightly, the tablet nestled safely inside, a precious secret she could not afford to lose. The city was alive with the chatter of people and the distant sound of laughter, but for Sarah, the world felt muted, her focus narrowed to the task ahead. She arrived at a small cafe near the university where Elena had insisted they meet. The quaint atmosphere was filled with the aroma of fresh pastries and coffee, yet Sarah could hardly appreciate it. Her mind was racing with thoughts of the implications of her discovery and the threats that loomed over her. As she entered the Soul Cafe, she scanned the room for any sign of Elena, her heart pounding in her chest. Moments later, Elena arrived, her presence commanding yet comforting. Dressed in a simple black turtleneck and jeans, she exuded a quiet confidence. "Sarah," she said, her voice low and urgent, "I'm glad you made it. We don't have much time." They quickly found a secluded table in the back corner, shielding their conversation from prying ears. "Did you bring it?" Elena asked, her eyes glinting with curiosity and concern. Sarah nodded and carefully pulled the tablet from her bag, laying it on the table between them. As Elena examined the intricate carvings, her expression shifted from intrigue to alarm. "This is incredible," Elena whispered, tracing her fingers over the symbols. The Anunnaki were believed to have knowledge of advanced genetics and technology. This could change everything we know about human origins. She paused, looking up at Sarah. "But we need to be cautious. There are people who would kill to keep this information hidden." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine at the weight of Elena's words. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "If they're already watching me, how do we proceed without putting ourselves or my family in danger?" Elena leaned closer, her voice firm. "We need to analyze this tablet in a secure location. I have connections at a private research facility that specializes in ancient artifacts. They have the technology to decode the tablet without drawing attention." Sarah nodded, the urgency of their situation propelling her forward. "Let's do it." As they left the cafe, Sarah felt a strange sensation, as if eyes were upon them. She glanced over her shoulder but saw nothing amiss. Perhaps it was just paranoia, a remnant of the fear she had carried since receiving the threatening package. They took a cab to the research facility, a discreet building tucked away from the bustling city center. Once inside, they were greeted by Dr. Marcus Hargrove, a renowned archaeologist and a former mentor to Elena. His expression turned serious as he learned about the tablet. "This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for," he said, motioning for them to follow him into a lab filled with advanced equipment. "But we must act quickly. The wrong people can't find out what we're doing here." In the lab, they set the tablet on a high-tech scanner designed to analyze ancient materials without damaging them. As the machine whirred to life, Sarah felt a mix of hope and trepidation. The screen displayed intricate details of the tablet, revealing not only the Sumerian text, but also hidden layers that were previously undetectable to the naked eye. "What are those markings?" Sarah asked, pointing to a series of symbols that pulsed with a faint glow. Elena leaned closer, her brow furrowing in concentration. "It's a form of code, possibly a warning or a message meant for someone who can decipher it. We need to decode this as soon as possible." Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, piecing together the information revealed by the scanner. The tablet told a story of the Annunnaki's arrival on Earth, detailing their advanced technology and their genetic experiments that led to the creation of humanity. Each revelation deepened Sarah's sense of purpose. This was not just about her career. It was about unveiling a truth that could redefine human history. But as the pieces fell into place, an unsettling realization dawned on them. The Anunnaki had left behind not only knowledge, but also a warning, a prophecy of their return. "They believed they would come back," Elena said softly, her voice laced with awe and fear. "What if they do?" Just then, the lab's door burst open and two men in dark suits entered, their expressions cold and menacing. "Dr. Hargrove, we need to talk," one of them said, his gaze shifting to Sarah and Elena. The air thickened with tension as they realized they were no longer safe. The truth they had uncovered was more dangerous than they had imagined. Sarah's heart raced as she glanced at Elena, who nodded slightly. They had to act fast. Without thinking, Sarah grabbed the tablet, her instincts kicking in. "We need to leave now," she urged, her voice trembling with urgency. They dashed toward the back exit of the lab, adrenaline surging through their veins as they fled into the unknown, knowing that the secrets of the Anunnaki could either save them or doom them all. The narrow alleyways of Geneva twisted and turned like a labyrinth as Sarah, Elena, and Dr. Hargrove sprinted away from the lab, their hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed behind them, a relentless reminder that danger was hot on their heels. Sarah could feel the weight of the tablet in her bag, a precious cargo that had the potential to change the course of history, but also put their lives at risk. "Where do we go?" Sarah gasped, glancing over her shoulder as they turned a corner, her mind racing. The men in suits were relentless, their determination palpable as they pursued the trio through the winding streets. "We need to get to a safe house," Elena said, her breath coming in quick bursts. "I have a contact who can help us. He's discreet and knows how to handle situations like this." They ducked into a small cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the scent of pastries, but Sarah could hardly appreciate it. The place was dimly lit, with a few patrons scattered around, oblivious to the storm brewing outside. Elena led them to the back, where a door opened into a cramped storage room filled with boxes and forgotten supplies. "Stay quiet," she instructed, her eyes darting around the room, scanning for any signs of danger. "We'll wait here until it's safe." As they huddled together in the shadows, Sarah's mind raced with concern. Who were those men? What did they want with the tablet? The urgency of their situation pressed down on her like a heavy weight. This was no longer just about academic discovery. It was a fight for survival, and she was terrified of what would happen if they failed. After what felt like an eternity, Elena's phone buzzed softly in her pocket. She glanced at the screen, her expression shifting from anxiety to relief. "It's Alex. He's here," she whispered, her voice filled with urgency as she quickly scanned the room for an exit. "We need to move." They slipped out the back door and into the cool night air. A sleek, black car was waiting at the curb, and a tall man with dark hair and sharp features leaned against it, scanning the street for any signs of trouble. "Get in," he urged, his voice low and urgent. They piled into the vehicle, and Alex sped off, weaving through the streets of Geneva, his focus unwavering as he navigated the city's labyrinthine roads. "Who were those guys?" Sarah asked, trying to catch her breath as she looked at Elena, whose face remained a mask of determination. "What do they want?" "They work for a private organization that's been tracking Annunaki research for years," Elena explained, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "They believe the knowledge contained in that tablet could give them power, control over resources, technology, perhaps even people. They see it as an opportunity to dominate." "Power?" Sarah echoed, her mind racing with the implications of Elena's words. "What do they want with humanity? What lengths will they go to?" "I don't know," Elena replied, her brow furrowing with concern. "But it's clear that they'll do anything to keep this information from getting out. We need to decode the tablet and understand its true purpose before they find us." As they drove toward a safe house on the outskirts of the city, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to the tablet. It wasn't just an artifact. It was a key, a potential gateway to understanding the origins of humanity and the mysteries of the universe. But with that knowledge came enormous risks, and Sarah felt the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. The safe house was a modest cabin nestled in the woods, far enough from prying eyes. As they entered, Sarah felt a sense of temporary relief wash over her. The cabin was unassuming, with wooden beams, a small kitchen, and a fireplace that hinted at warmth. But the reality of their situation quickly settled back in. They had escaped one danger, but now they needed to uncover the tablet's secrets before the men in suits caught up with them. "Let's get to work," Dr. Hargrove said, his voice firm and resolute. They gathered around a table cluttered with papers, laptops, and ancient texts, the tablet sitting in the center like a silent sentinel. It was a reminder of the peril they faced, and the knowledge they were on the brink of uncovering. Elena powered on her laptop and began running scans of the tablet's surface, looking for any hidden messages or codes that might provide insight. "I'll try to extract more information," she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard with determination. "If we can understand the context of this tablet, we might be able to predict their next move and stay one step ahead." Sarah and Dr. Hargrove pored over the translations they had already done, piecing together the narrative of the Annunaki and their interactions with early humans. As they discussed the implications of their findings, the tension in the room grew palpable. The more they uncovered, the clearer it became that the Annunaki had a plan, one that went beyond mere exploitation of resources. They had engineered humanity, and their return was prophesied in the very text they sought to decode. A return that could change everything. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, the weight of their task pressing heavily on their shoulders. Just as fatigue began to settle in, Elena's voice broke the silence, filled with a mixture of excitement and urgency. "I think I have found something." They gathered around her laptop as she displayed a series of symbols that glowed on the screen. These markings correspond to ancient Sumerian texts that reference a celestial event, a return of the Anunnaki. It's an alignment of planets that occurs once every few thousand years. Sarah's heart raced. "What does it mean for us?" "It means they believed their return was imminent," Elena replied, her voice steady as she locked eyes with Sarah. "If we can decode the rest of this tablet, we might understand how they plan to come back and what that means for humanity. We need to know if it's a benevolent return or if they intend to reclaim what they once had." Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside the cabin, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps and voices. Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach. "They found us," she whispered, panic rising in her throat. "What do we do?" "Hide," Dr. Hargrove urged, his voice filled with urgency as he shoved the tablet into Sarah's hands. "We have to protect it at all costs." They scrambled to find hiding spots, adrenaline surging through their veins as they prepared for the confrontation that was about to unfold. Sarah squeezed into a small closet, holding her breath as she pressed her body against the back wall, praying that the darkness would conceal her. As the door burst open and the men in suits stormed into the cabin, Sarah clutched the tablet tightly, her heart racing. The sound of their footsteps echoed ominously in the small room, and she could hear their voices low and menacing. "Search everywhere. They can't have gotten far." The tension in the air was thick, and Sarah could feel her pulse pounding in her ears. She closed her eyes, focusing on her breathing, trying to steady her racing heart. If they found her, it would all be over. They had come too far, and the truth was too important to let it slip away. As the men rifled through the cabin, tossing aside furniture and searching every nook and cranny, Sarah knew they had to act fast. They had to protect the tablet and the knowledge it held. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the main room, followed by a shout. "They're not here! They must have left!" A wave of panic surged through Sarah as she realized the men were about to leave. She knew they couldn't let them go without a fight. With a surge of adrenaline, she quietly pushed open the closet door, her heart racing as she stepped out, the tablet still clutched tightly in her hands. "Now!" Sarah whispered urgently to Dr. Hargrove and Elena, who had also emerged from their hiding places. They rushed toward the front door, determined to confront the men before they escaped with the knowledge of their pursuit. In the chaos, Sarah felt a sense of clarity wash over her. They were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for the truth. The world needed to know what the Anunnaki had done, what they had planned, and how humanity's past was intricately woven into the fabric of their existence. As they burst through the door, Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. They were ready to face the unknown together. The confrontation outside the cabin was nothing short of chaos. As Sarah, Elena, and Dr. Hargrove burst through the door, they came face to face with the men in suits, whose expressions shifted from determination to surprise. The night air was crisp and tense, filled with the sounds of the forest and the heavy breathing of all involved. Moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows across the clearing as they stood their ground. "Stop!" Sarah called out, her voice stronger than she expected, resonating through the night. "We know what you're after, and we won't let you have it." She clutched the tablet tightly, its ancient surface cool against her skin. The weight of thousands of years of hidden history pressed against her palms, a burden she was now determined to bear. The taller of the two men stepped forward, his face partially illuminated by the moonlight. His features were sharp and calculating, his eyes cold with purpose. "Dr. Thompson, you don't understand what you're dealing with," he said, his voice surprisingly calm and measured. "That tablet contains information that could destabilize society as we know it. The foundations of human civilization rest upon certain accepted truths. Hand it over, and we can ensure it's handled properly, with the care such knowledge deserves." Elena moved to stand beside Sarah, her posture defiant, her eyes blazing with determination. "By properly, you mean buried and forgotten? Hidden away in some warehouse like in that Indiana Jones movie?" She scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. "Who do you work for? What's your stake in this? People deserve to know the truth about their origins." The man's expression hardened, his jaw clenching visibly. "We represent interests that have been monitoring the Annunaki legacy for centuries. This isn't a game, Dr. Vasquez. The knowledge in that tablet was hidden for a reason. There are truths mankind is not prepared to face, revelations that could tear apart the fabric of society, destroy faith, and plunge the world into chaos." His partner, a shorter, more muscular man with a scar running along his jawline, stepped forward. "You think you're crusaders for truth, but you're playing with forces beyond your comprehension. Hand over the tablet now, or we'll be forced to take more direct measures." His hand moved subtly toward his jacket, implying the presence of a weapon. Dr. Hargrove, who had remained silent until now, spoke up, his academic voice steady despite the tension. "The suppression of knowledge has never protected humanity. It has only served those who wish to maintain power over others. Whatever this tablet contains, it belongs to all of mankind, not to your shadowy organization." Before anyone could respond, headlights cut through the darkness as a vehicle approached rapidly along the narrow forest road, its engine growling through the night. The men turned, momentarily distracted by this unexpected development. And in that instant, Alex appeared from the shadows of the forest like a specter, wielding what appeared to be a tranquilizer gun. His movements were fluid and practiced, speaking of years of training. 2 swift shots later, the men collapsed to the ground, unconscious but alive, their bodies making dull thuds as they hit the forest floor. "We need to move," Alex said urgently, gesturing toward the approaching vehicle, his voice tense. "That's our extraction team. We have a secure location where you can continue your work without interference. Grab only what's essential. We have less than 2 minutes before their backup arrives." Sarah hesitated, looking at the unconscious men sprawled on the ground, vulnerability replacing their previous menace. "Who are you, really? And who are they? I'm not taking another step until I get some answers. I'm tired of being kept in the dark." Alex's expression was grim, his eyes reflecting years of secrecy and conflict. "I'm part of an organization called the Enlightenment Coalition. We've been working to uncover the truth about human origins for decades, operating in the shadows, connecting researchers who've stumbled upon fragments of the truth. Those men work for a group called the Keepers. They've been suppressing information about the Annunaki for centuries, destroying evidence, silencing researchers, sometimes permanently. They believe humanity isn't ready for the truth, that society would collapse if people learned they were engineered by beings from beyond the stars. Dr. Hargrove's eyes widened. The Keepers. I've heard whispers about them in academic circles. Colleagues who pursued certain lines of research suddenly abandoning their work. Universities mysteriously losing funding for archaeological digs that uncovered anomalous artifacts. I always thought it was just paranoia. It's very real, Alex assured him, checking his watch nervously. And they have resources we can only dream of. Now please, we need to leave immediately. As they hurried toward the waiting vehicle, a nondescript black SUV with reinforced panels and tinted windows, Sarah's mind raced with implications. If what Alex said was true, then there was an entire shadow war being waged over humanity's history, with both sides believing they were protecting the future. The weight of the tablet in her bag seemed to increase with every step, a responsibility she had never asked for but could no longer ignore. The extraction team consisted of a driver, a woman with close-cropped silver hair and the focused demeanor of a former military operative, and a young man in the passenger seat whose fingers danced across multiple screens, monitoring what appeared to be security feeds and satellite imagery. "Clear for now," the young man reported as they pulled away from the cabin. "But I'm picking up chatter. They're mobilizing a search team. We've got maybe a 20-minute head start." "That's all we need," the woman replied, her driving precise and confident as she navigated the winding forest roads. "Jamming protocols active. They won't be able to track us electronically." Sarah exchanged glances with Elena and Dr. Hargrove, all of them processing the surreal turn their academic pursuit had taken. What had begun as archaeological research had transformed into something from a spy thriller, with factions and conspiracies beyond anything they could have imagined. The journey took them deep into the Swiss Alps, along roads that grew progressively narrower and more treacherous. After several hours of tense silence, punctuated only by the young man's periodic security updates, they arrived at what appeared to be a sheer rock face. At a command from the driver, a section of the mountain slid away, revealing a hidden entrance. The extraction team whisked them into a hidden facility nestled seamlessly within the mountain. The building was a marvel of modern architecture, integrated so perfectly into the mountainside that it was nearly invisible to the untrained eye. Inside, they were led through a series of security checkpoints, each more sophisticated than the last, before finally arriving at a state-of-the-art laboratory where they could continue their work in safety. "Welcome to the Prometheus Institute," Alex explained as they settled in, gesturing to the impressive array of technology surrounding them. The lab was a vast, open space with multiple workstations, holographic displays, and equipment Sarah couldn't even begin to identify. "We've been tracking Annunaki evidence for generations, piecing together the fragments of humanity's true history. Your tablet is the most significant find in decades, possibly the key to understanding not just where we came from, but what might be coming." The laboratory was equipped with technology beyond anything Sarah had seen before. Advanced imaging systems, quantum computers, and holographic displays that could render the tablet's inscriptions in three-dimensional space, allowing them to examine layers of meaning that would be invisible to conventional analysis. It was a researcher's dream, and despite the danger they had faced, Sarah felt a surge of excitement at the possibilities. "This is incredible," she breathed, running her fingers along the edge of a workstation. "With this equipment, We could accomplish in days what might take years in a university lab. That's the idea, Alex replied with a small smile. Time is not on our side. The Keepers will be regrouping, and they're not the only ones interested in what you've discovered. As they set up their workstations, Dr. Hargrove approached Sarah, his expression serious. The lines on his face deepened by concern. Sarah, before we go any further, you need to understand what's at stake. If what we believe about the Anunnaki is true, it changes everything. Religion, history, our understanding of human evolution. It means we're not the masters of our own destiny. That our very existence was engineered by beings with technology so advanced, it would seem like magic to us. Are you prepared for that? For what it might mean for humanity's place in the cosmos? Sarah took a deep breath, considering his words carefully. The magnitude of their discovery weighed heavily on her, but so did her commitment to truth. I became an archaeologist to find the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. I can't turn back now. Not when we're so close to understanding who we really are and where we came from. If our origins are different than we've been led to believe, then people deserve to know, to make their own choices about what that means for them. Dr. Hargrove nodded, a mixture of pride and concern in his eyes. Then let's make history. Or perhaps I should say, let's uncover it. With renewed determination, they set to work decoding the tablet. The advanced technology at their disposal allowed them to see details that were previously invisible, revealing layers of information embedded within the ancient clay. They worked in shifts, analyzing, translating, and cross-referencing the symbols with other ancient texts from the Prometheus Institute's vast database. Elena's expertise in genetics proved invaluable as they uncovered sections describing the Anunnaki's manipulation of early hominid DNA. Her fingers moved rapidly across the holographic interface, isolating sequences and running comparisons with modern human genomes. "This is incredible," Elena murmured, her eyes wide with wonder as she studied a holographic representation of a DNA strand extracted from the tablet's inscriptions. The double helix rotated slowly in the air before her, certain sections highlighted in pulsing red. They didn't just create humans, they designed us with specific limitations. Look at these markers. They indicate deliberate suppression of certain genetic potentials. They modified our neurological capacity, our lifespan, even our perception. "What does that mean exactly?" Sarah asked, leaning closer to examine the display, trying to make sense of the complex genetic information. "It means they engineered us to be intelligent enough to serve their needs, but limited enough to remain controllable," Elena explained, her voice tinged with awe and horror. According to these inscriptions, they took an existing hominid species and accelerated its evolution, adding their own genetic material to create a hybrid species, us. But they were careful. They gave us creativity, problem-solving abilities, language, but they placed caps on our development. And according to these inscriptions, they left back doors in our genetic code, ways to reactivate their control if they ever returned. Like a programmer leaving a backdoor in software, Dr. Hargrove mused, stroking his beard thoughtfully. A way to regain administrator access if needed. "Exactly," Elena nodded. "But in this case, the software is us, our bodies, our minds. The implications are staggering." The revelation sent a chill down Sarah's spine. The implications were indeed staggering. If the Anunnaki had created humanity as a slave race and had encoded ways to reassert control, then their prophesied return wasn't just a mythological event. It was a potential extinction-level threat to human autonomy. Everything humanity had built, civilization, culture, technology, could be subverted in an instant if these genetic backdoors were activated. But why? Sarah asked, voicing the question that had been nagging at her. Why create an intelligent species only to limit it? What were they afraid of? Dr. Hargrove pointed to a section of the tablet they had translated earlier. According to this passage, there was conflict among the Anunnaki themselves. Some saw humanity as merely tools, while others developed attachment to their creations. There are references to a faction that believed humans should eventually be granted full autonomy, allowed to develop to their full potential. A schism, Sarah murmured. So some of our creators wanted us to be free, while others wanted to maintain control. And we don't know which faction might return, Elena added grimly. As they continued their work, Alex brought them meals and provided additional resources, ensuring they had everything they needed. The Prometheus Institute operated with military precision, with researchers and security personnel working in carefully coordinated shifts. During one such visit, Sarah pulled Alex aside, needing to address the growing concern that had been building within her. Alex, if what we're discovering is true, then humanity needs to know. We can't keep this hidden away in a secret mountain facility. People have a right to understand their origins, especially if there's a threat on the horizon. Alex's expression was troubled, his eyes reflecting the weight of years spent guarding dangerous truths. That's where our organization differs from the Keepers. We believe in disclosure, but it must be done carefully, strategically. Imagine the panic if people suddenly learned that everything they believed about human origins was a lie, and that our creators might return to reclaim us. Religious institutions would be thrown into chaos. Governments would fight over the technology, and the Keepers would stop at nothing to silence the message. So we do nothing? Sarah challenged, frustration evident in her voice. We sit on the truth while humanity remains ignorant of what might be coming? Alex shook his head. Not nothing. We prepare. We gather irrefutable evidence. We build a network of respected voices who can help deliver the message in a way that minimizes panic. And most importantly, we find a way to protect humanity from what might be coming. If the Anunnaki left back doors in our genetic code, perhaps we can find a way to close them before they return. Sarah understood his concern, but the weight of the knowledge they were uncovering pressed heavily on her conscience. The responsibility was immense, almost crushing. Then we need to find a way to prepare humanity, to give people a chance to understand and adapt before it's too late. I didn't become an archaeologist to hide the past. I did it to illuminate it. And you will, Alex assured her, placing a hand on her shoulder. But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Complete the translation. Understand the threat. Then we can decide the best path forward. Days passed as they worked tirelessly, piecing together the narrative of humanity's creation and the Anunnaki's plans. The tablet spoke of a return that would coincide with a specific astronomical alignment, a configuration of planets that, according to their calculations, was due to occur within the next year. It described the awakening of dormant Anunnaki technology, buried at specific sites around the globe. Technology that would serve as beacons to guide the returning gods to Earth. We're running out of time, Dr. Hargrove said, his voice grave as he shared this realization with the team. The normally composed academic looked genuinely frightened for the first time since Sarah had known him. If the Anunnaki return and find humanity unprepared, we could face enslavement or worse. They might view our current civilization as a failed experiment, one to be reset and begun anew. Elena, who had been analyzing the genetic components of the tablet's message, looked up from her workstation. I might have found something. The genetic backdoors they created. They're sophisticated but not infallible. With modern CRISPR technology and what we've learned from the tablet, we might be able to develop a way to block the activation signals. A genetic firewall, if you will. Hope flickered across Dr. Hargrove's tired face. How long would that take to develop and distribute globally? Elena's expression fell. That's the problem. Development might take months with the resources here, but distribution, to protect all of humanity? Years at minimum. And we have less than one according to your astronomical calculations. The weight of their situation pressed down on them all. They were racing against time, against the keepers, and against the potential return of humanity's creators, with the fate of human autonomy hanging in the balance. Just as they were processing this sobering news, alarms began blaring throughout the facility, the harsh sound shattering the focused atmosphere of the laboratory. Red emergency lights began to pulse, casting an eerie glow over their work. Alex burst into the laboratory, his expression urgent, a small cut on his forehead suggesting he'd been in some kind of altercation. "The Keepers have found us," he announced, his voice tight with controlled panic. "They've breached the outer defenses. We don't know how. They shouldn't have been able to track us here. We need to secure the tablet and evacuate immediately. The helicopter will be on the roof in 4 minutes." The laboratory erupted into activity as researchers began shutting down equipment and securing data. Sarah quickly gathered their notes and translations, ensuring nothing was left behind that could aid the Keepers. Elena downloaded their genetic findings onto a secure drive, while Dr. Hargrove carefully packed the tablet into a specialized container designed to protect it from damage. "What about the rest of the staff?" Sarah asked as they prepared to leave, concern for the others evident in her voice. "Security protocols are in place," Alex assured her, though his expression suggested the situation was dire. "Our priority has to be protecting the tablet and your research. You three have the knowledge to understand it. That makes you irreplaceable." As they hurriedly gathered their research and prepared to flee, Sarah felt a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. The truth they had uncovered was too important to be lost. Humanity deserved to know its origins, to understand the potential threat looming on the horizon. With the tablet securely in her possession, she made a silent vow to ensure that the knowledge of the Anunnaki would not be buried again, no matter the cost. They moved swiftly through the corridors of the facility, Alex leading the way with a determined urgency. The sounds of conflict echoed through the hallways. Shouted commands, the occasional burst of gunfire, the dull thud of explosions from deeper within the mountain. The Keepers had come in force, determined to reclaim the tablet and silence those who had uncovered its secrets. "This way," Alex directed, leading them down a maintenance corridor that would take them to the roof access. "Stay close and keep moving no matter what." As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with 2 Keepers agents, their suits immaculate despite the chaos around them. For a moment, everyone froze in surprise. Then, with practiced precision, Alex moved, disarming one agent with a swift strike and engaging the other in close combat. The fight was brief but intense, with Alex displaying combat skills that seemed at odds with his scholarly appearance. "Go!" he shouted to Sarah and the others as he subdued the second agent. "Get to the roof. I'll be right behind you." They raced up the emergency stairs, the sound of gunfire echoing through the corridors as they climbed. Sarah's lungs burned with exertion, but fear and determination drove her forward. The tablet seemed to grow heavier in Dr. Hargrove's protective case, as if the weight of its revelations was becoming physical. Finally, they burst through the door onto the roof, where a helicopter waited, its rotors already spinning, creating a deafening roar and whipping their hair and clothes around them. The pilot gestured frantically for them to board as Alex appeared behind them, breathing heavily but intact. "The facility is compromised," he shouted over the noise as they climbed aboard. "But we have contingencies. We'll regroup at the secondary site." As the helicopter lifted off, Sarah looked down at the Prometheus Institute, her home for the past several days and the site of revelations that had forever changed her understanding of humanity. Smoke billowed from several sections, and she could see figures moving on the grounds, engaged in what appeared to be armed conflict. The sound of gunfire echoed through the corridors as they raced toward the emergency exit, the fate of humanity's future weighing heavily on their shoulders. The revelation of the Annunnaki's plan had changed everything, and now they were in a race against time to warn the world before it was too late. As the helicopter banked sharply and headed toward the horizon, Sarah clutched the case containing the tablet, her mind racing with the implications of what they had discovered. The Anunnaki were coming. Humanity was unprepared, and the clock was ticking. Whatever happened next would determine not just the future of human civilization, but whether humanity would continue to control its own destiny. In the distance, the first rays of dawn broke over the mountains, casting long shadows across the valleys below. A new day was beginning, perhaps one of the last days of truly free human existence, unless they could find a way to stop what was coming, to close the back doors left in human DNA, to prepare for the return of humanity's creators and potential enslavers. Sarah met Elena's eyes across the helicopter cabin, seeing her own determination reflected there. They had uncovered the greatest secret in human history. And now, they had to find a way to use that knowledge to save humanity from its creators. The helicopter journey was tense and silent, save for the rhythmic chopping of the rotors cutting through the air. Sarah clutched the protective case containing the tablet, her knuckles white with tension. The Swiss Alps stretched beneath them, majestic peaks and valleys bathed in the golden light of dawn, a stark contrast to the chaos they had narrowly escaped. "Where are we going?" Elena shouted over the noise, her dark hair whipping around her face as she leaned toward Alex. "Iceland," he replied, his voice barely audible. "We have a secondary facility there, built into an old lava tube system. It's off the grid, powered by geothermal energy. The keepers don't know about it, at least they shouldn't." Dr. Hargrove, who had been unusually quiet since their escape, finally spoke. "Can we trust that statement? They shouldn't have found the Swiss facility either." Alex's expression darkened. "You're right. We have to assume we have a security breach somewhere. Until we know more, we'll operate with enhanced protocols." The journey took them across Europe and over the North Atlantic, with 2 refueling stops at private airfields where they switched to different aircraft each time. Security was tight, with armed personnel escorting them between vehicles. By the time they reached Iceland's rugged landscape, nearly 15 hours had passed since their escape from the Prometheus Institute. The Icelandic facility, codenamed Bifrost, was a marvel of discreet engineering. From the outside, it appeared to be nothing more than a small research station dedicated to studying the island's unique geology. Inside, however, it extended deep into the earth, utilizing natural lava tubes that had been expanded and reinforced to create a sprawling underground complex. "We can continue our work here," Alex explained as he led them through security checkpoints and into the heart of the facility. "The equipment isn't quite as advanced as what we had in Switzerland, but it's more than adequate. And the isolation gives us an additional layer of security." As they settled into their new surroundings, Sarah felt the weight of their situation pressing down on her. They had discovered humanity's true origins, uncovered a conspiracy spanning thousands of years, and now faced the imminent return of beings who viewed humans as their property. The responsibility was overwhelming. "We need to formulate a plan," she said, once they had gathered in the facility's main laboratory. "According to our translations, we have less than a year before the astronomical alignment that's supposed to herald the Annunnaki's return. We need to decide how to proceed." Elena nodded, pulling up their research on a holographic display. "I've been thinking about the genetic backdoors. If we can identify the specific sequences the Anunnaki designed to control humans, we might be able to develop some kind of countermeasure. A genetic vaccine, essentially. That's assuming the control mechanism is purely biological," Dr. Hargrove cautioned. The tablet also mentioned artifacts, devices left behind that would activate upon their return. "We need to locate those as well." Alex, who had been listening intently, stepped forward. "The Enlightenment Coalition has been tracking unusual archaeological sites for decades. We have a database of locations that might correspond to what you're describing. With the new information from the tablet, we can narrow down the search." They worked tirelessly over the following days, cross-referencing the tablet's information with archaeological records, astronomical data, and genetic research. Slowly, a clearer picture began to emerge. "I think I've found something," Elena announced one evening, her excitement palpable. "Look at this sequence in the human genome. It appears dormant, but its structure is unlike anything naturally occurring in Earth-based life. And it corresponds exactly to this symbol on the tablet, the one we translated as awakening." Sarah leaned closer to examine the display. "So this is one of the back doors? A way for the Anunnaki to reassert control?" "I believe so," Elena confirmed. "And I think I can develop a way to block it. A genetic therapy that would prevent this sequence from activating. But distribution would be a massive challenge. How do we protect billions of people in less than a year?" "We might not need to protect everyone immediately," Dr. Hargrove suggested. "If we can identify the artifacts, the activation devices, and neutralize them, we could buy ourselves more time." Alex pulled up a global map on the main display. "Based on your translations and our database, we've identified 7 potential locations for these devices. They're all at sites with ancient connections to the Anunnaki: Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the Nazca Lines in Peru, the Great Pyramid in Egypt, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Stonehenge in England, the Yonaguni Monument in Japan, and a site in Antarctica that's been covered by ice for thousands of years." Sarah studied the map, noting how the sites formed a specific pattern across the globe. They're positioned along ley lines, energy pathways that the Anunnaki apparently understood and utilized. According to the tablet, when aligned with certain celestial positions, these sites would form a network, amplifying the signal that would both guide the Anunnaki back to Earth and activate the genetic controls in humanity. Then our path is clear, Elena said firmly. We need to split our efforts. Some of us need to continue developing the genetic countermeasure, while others need to locate and neutralize these devices before they can activate. The plan was set in motion. Teams were assembled from trusted members of the Enlightenment Coalition, each assigned to one of the 7 sites. Sarah, Elena, Dr. Hargrove, and Alex would lead the most critical mission to the Antarctic site, which the tablet suggested was the central hub of the network. As preparations for the expedition were underway, Sarah found herself standing alone in the laboratory late one night, studying the holographic representation of the tablet. The ancient symbols seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, a message from creators who viewed humanity as little more than a resource to be exploited. Couldn't sleep either. Alex's voice startled her from her thoughts. Sarah shook her head. How could I? Everything I thought I knew about human history, about our place in the universe, it's all been turned upside down. And now we're racing against time to prevent what? The enslavement of humanity? The end of free will? It's overwhelming. Alex moved to stand beside her, his expression somber. I've been living with this knowledge for years, and it doesn't get easier. But I've also come to see it differently over time. Yes, the Anunnaki created us as a slave race, but look what we've become in their absence. We've built civilizations, created art and music, explored the cosmos. We've evolved beyond their original design. And you think that matters? That they'll see us as equals now? No, Alex admitted. But I think it gives us a fighting chance. We're not the same species they left behind. We've grown, adapted, developed technologies they might not anticipate. And now, we know they're coming. Knowledge is power, Sarah. That's why the Keepers wanted to suppress this information, not to protect humanity from panic, but to keep us vulnerable. His words provided little comfort, but they strengthened Sarah's resolve. They had to succeed. The alternative was unthinkable. The Antarctic expedition was scheduled to depart in 3 days. As the final preparations were made, Sarah received an encrypted message on her secure terminal. It was from an unknown sender, but the content sent a chill down her spine. The Keepers know about Bifrost. Evacuate immediately. Not all who claim to fight for enlightenment seek the light. Trust no one. Before she could alert the others, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. History was repeating itself, but this time they were even less prepared. "We have a breach!" Alex shouted as he burst into the laboratory. "Multiple entry points. They're already inside the facility." "The tablet?" Sarah began, but Alex cut her off. "No time. We need to evacuate now. The Antarctic team is already at the airfield. If we move quickly, we can still make the flight." As they raced through the corridors, the sounds of conflict echoed around them. Unlike the Swiss facility, Bifrost had fewer security personnel, and they were quickly being overwhelmed. "This way," Alex directed, leading them down a maintenance tunnel. "There's an emergency exit that leads directly to the surface." As they hurried through the dimly lit passage, Sarah couldn't shake the warning from the anonymous message. Not all who claim to fight for enlightenment seek the light. Trust no one. Was there a traitor among them? Was Alex himself trustworthy? They emerged onto the harsh Icelandic landscape where a vehicle was waiting. The drive to the airfield was tense, with Alex constantly checking for pursuit. When they finally arrived, a small private jet was waiting, its engines already running. "The others are already aboard," Alex explained as they hurried across the tarmac. "The expedition equipment was loaded earlier today. We're ready to go." As they climbed the stairs to the aircraft, Sarah hesitated, the warning message still echoing in her mind. Trust no one. But what choice did she have? The Keepers were closing in, and their only hope of preventing the Annunnaki's return lay in reaching Antarctica and finding the central control device. The jet took off minutes later, leaving Iceland and the compromised Bifrost facility behind. As they climbed into the cloud cover, Sarah looked around at her companions. Elena, Dr. Hargrove, Alex, and the expedition team of scientists and security personnel. One of them might be a traitor working against their mission. But which one? The countdown to the Annunnaki's return was ticking inexorably forward, and now they faced enemies both known and unknown. Their journey to Antarctica would be the ultimate test, not just of their courage and determination, but of their trust in one another. The fate of human autonomy hung in the balance, and Sarah was acutely aware that the wrong decision could doom them all. As the jet soared toward the southern hemisphere, Sarah clutched the tablet's protective case to her chest. Whatever happened next, she was determined to protect humanity's future, even if it meant confronting the very beings who had created them millennia ago. The countdown had begun. The journey to Antarctica was fraught with tension, every passing hour a reminder of the urgent mission ahead. Sarah sat in the private jet's cabin, her heart pounding in rhythm with the ticking clock. The tablet, carefully stored in its protective case, felt like a living thing, pulsing with ancient energy and secrets that could reshape humanity's future. As the jet cruised at altitude, the landscape below changed dramatically. The icy expanse of the Antarctic region unfolded like a vast white canvas dotted with jagged peaks and sprawling glaciers. It was beautiful and treacherous, a place that had hidden secrets for millennia. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading towards something monumental, something that would either save them or spell their doom. "Approaching our destination," the pilot announced over the intercom, snapping Sarah from her reverie. "We'll be landing at a research station near the coordinates provided. Weather conditions are stable, but keep your gear ready for immediate deployment." Alex stood up, his expression grave as he gathered the team around. "Listen up, everyone. Once we land, we'll have limited time to secure the area and begin our investigation. We're not sure what we'll find at the site, but the tablet indicated it's critical to understanding how to prevent the Annunnaki's return." Dr. Hargrove nodded, his glasses sliding down his nose as he adjusted them. "We'll need to coordinate our efforts carefully. The artifacts may be buried deep within the ice, and we'll need specialized equipment to access them. Remember, we're not just looking for physical artifacts. We must also gather data related to their activation mechanisms." As they neared the landing site, the vastness of the Antarctic landscape loomed closer, an alien world of ice and stone, where every gust of wind carried with it the chill of ancient secrets. The jet touched down on a makeshift runway, and the team quickly disembarked, their breath visible in the frigid air. The research station was a series of interconnected domes designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the Antarctic winter. As they approached, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The place appeared deserted, its windows dark and foreboding, as if the occupants had vanished without a trace. "Stay alert," Alex instructed, scanning the area for any signs of life. We don't know what we're walking into. Inside the research station, the silence was deafening. The team moved cautiously through the cramped corridors, their footsteps echoing unnervingly against the metal walls. Scientific equipment lay abandoned, papers scattered across desks, and the faint hum of machinery signaled that power was still running, albeit barely. "This is strange," Elena said, peering into an office filled with equipment. "There should be scientists here. Where did they all go?" "Let's check the control room," suggested Dr. Hargrove, leading the way. They found a small room filled with monitors displaying data feeds, some showing weather patterns, while others displayed seismic activity. But there was no sign of the researchers who had operated the station. As they gathered around the control panel, Sarah noticed a series of dates and timestamps on one of the screens. "Look at this," she said, pointing. "These readings stopped 3 days ago. If they were monitoring something here, it must have been significant enough to warrant constant surveillance." 3 days, Alex repeated, his brow furrowing. "That coincides with our timeline. If they discovered something related to the artifacts, it could explain their sudden disappearance." Dr. Hargrove examined another monitor, his face pale. "These readings of seismic activity, they've been increasing steadily over the past month. It's as if something is awakening beneath the ice." Just then, the sound of a loud crash echoed from outside, reverberating through the metal structure. The team exchanged nervous glances, adrenaline spiking as they instinctively moved toward the source of the noise. "Stay together," Alex urged, leading the way to an exterior door. As they stepped outside, the icy wind whipped around them, stinging their faces. The source of the noise became clear. A section of the ice had shifted dramatically, revealing a gaping crevasse that had not been there moments before. "Oh no," Elena breathed, taking a step closer to the edge. "This wasn't here before. It looks like something has forced its way up from below." The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet, and Sarah felt a rush of fear. Is it possible that the artifacts are buried down there? "It's a risk, but we have to find out," Dr. Hargrove said, his voice steady despite the danger. "We need to lower a team to explore the crevasse and see what we can find." Alex nodded, quickly formulating a plan. "Let's set up a harness system. We'll need to lower our equipment carefully. There's no telling how deep this goes or what we'll encounter." As the team worked in hurried coordination, Sarah felt the atmosphere shift. Time was running out, and they were racing against forces that had been dormant for centuries. What if they were not alone? What if the keepers had followed them here, eager to reclaim what they believed was theirs? Once the harness system was established, Elena volunteered to descend first, equipped with a camera and communication device. "I'll scout ahead. If it's safe, I'll signal for the rest of you to follow." With a firm grip on the ropes, Elena lowered herself into the darkness, her figure slowly disappearing as she descended deeper into the crevasse. Sarah watched, her heart racing as she strained to hear any sounds from below. "Stay focused," Alex urged, glancing at Dr. Hargrove and Sarah. "We need to be ready for anything. If the keepers are here, they won't hesitate to come after us." Minutes felt like hours as they waited for Elena's signal. The cold seeped into their bones, and the silence of the icy landscape around them was oppressive. Just when Sarah thought they might have to pull Elena back up, a voice crackled through the communication device. "Guys, you need to see this!" Elena's voice echoed with excitement and urgency. "I found something!" They quickly pulled her back up, adrenaline surging through their veins as she emerged from the crevasse. her face flushed with exhilaration. "You won't believe what's down there," she said breathlessly. "It's like a hidden chamber. There are structures, inscriptions, and I think I saw an artifact." "Show us," Alex urged, his eyes bright with anticipation. With the team's equipment secured, they prepared to descend into the crevasse together. Sarah felt a mix of fear and excitement as they lowered themselves, their headlamps illuminating the icy walls around them. The deeper they went, the more the air felt charged with energy, as if they were entering a long-forgotten realm. Finally, they reached the bottom, and Elena led the way into the chamber. The sight that greeted them was breathtaking. A vast underground cavern filled with towering structures made of an unknown crystalline material, shimmering in the light of their headlamps. Intricate carvings adorned the walls, depicting scenes of beings descending from the stars, interacting with early humans and celestial events that matched the astronomical alignments they had studied. "Unbelievable," Dr. Hargrove whispered, his voice filled with awe. This could be the nexus of Annunaki activity, an archive of their history with humanity. As they moved deeper into the chamber, Sarah's eyes were drawn to a pedestal in the center of the cavern, upon which rested a device that seemed to pulse with energy. It was a large, crystalline structure, shaped like a double helix, and its surface was inscribed with symbols that matched those on the tablet. "This is it," Elena breathed, moving closer. "This must be one of the activation devices. We need to study it." Suddenly, the ground trembled again, more violently this time, causing the walls of the cavern to shake. Dust and small shards of ice rained down from above, and the team staggered to maintain their footing. "Get back!" Alex shouted, pushing them away from the pedestal. "We don't know what activating that device will do." As they retreated, Sarah felt a rush of panic. What if it's already activated? What if it's reacting to our presence? The tremors intensified, and the light from their headlamps flickered as the chamber began to shake. The crystalline structure pulsed brighter, sending waves of energy through the air, filling the cavern with a low hum that resonated in their bones. "We need to stabilize it," Dr. Hargrove shouted, his voice barely audible over the chaos. "If we can deactivate it, we might prevent whatever is awakening." With no time to lose, they worked together, using tools from their packs to try to analyze the device's energy readings. Sarah felt her heart race as she approached the pedestal, drawn to the shimmering light. "Careful," Alex warned. "If it's connected to the Anunnaki technology, it could react violently." But Sarah's instincts urged her forward. As she neared the device, she felt a connection, as if it were calling to her. "I can feel it," she said, her voice trembling. "It's alive." In a moment of desperation, she reached out, placing her hand against the cool surface of the crystal. The moment she made contact, a surge of energy coursed through her, and the device responded, lighting up with an intensity that illuminated the entire chamber. "Sarah, no!" Elena yelled, but it was too late. The device began to hum louder, vibrating with energy that resonated throughout the cavern. The ground shook violently, and the walls began to crack, ice and rock splintering around them. "Get her away from it!" Alex shouted. But Sarah was entranced, her vision filled with images of the Anunnaki, their technology, and glimpses of humanity's future and past. It was a symphony of knowledge playing through her mind, revealing truths she had never imagined. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the device, and the chamber was engulfed in light. Sarah was thrown backward, landing hard against the icy ground as the force of the energy wave radiated outward. She gasped for breath, struggling to regain her bearings as the world around her spun. "Elena! Dr. Hargrove! Alex!" she shouted, but the noise of the collapsing chamber drowned her voice. The crystalline structure pulsed one last time before erupting in a brilliant explosion of light, sending shards of crystal flying in all directions. As the chamber began to collapse, Sarah scrambled to her feet, her heart racing with fear. She had to get out. The device was reacting violently, and she could feel the energy shifting, the very fabric of reality around her warping under the strain. "Run!" she screamed, her voice raw with urgency as she turned and sprinted toward the entrance of the cavern. Behind her, she could hear the sound of ice cracking and the walls crumbling. The chamber was coming down, and they needed to escape before it was too late. Bursting out into the open air, Sarah stumbled into the frigid light of Antarctica. The world outside seemed eerily calm after the chaos of the chamber, but she quickly spotted Alex and the others, who were also emerging, breathless and wide-eyed. "Is everyone okay?" Alex shouted, scanning the group, relief flooding his face as he saw they were all alive. "We need to regroup," Dr. Hargrove insisted, his face pale but determined. "We can't let the Keepers find out what we've discovered. That device, whatever it was, has awakened something beneath the ice, and we need to be prepared for what comes next." As they gathered together, catching their breath and assessing their injuries, Sarah felt the weight of the tablet pressing against her chest. They had uncovered the location of an Annunaki activation device, and in doing so, had potentially triggered a chain of events that could lead to their return. But the most pressing question loomed. What would happen now that they had awakened something deep within the Antarctic ice? The countdown to the Anunnaki's return had begun, and the team was running out of time to prevent humanity from repeating history. With determination in her heart, Sarah knew they had to act fast. They needed to find a way to neutralize the threat, to be ready for whatever the Anunnaki had in store, and to protect humanity from the very beings who had created them. The icy fortress of the past had awakened, and now it was up to them to ensure that the future was not written in chains.